This is Diesel. He is a Labradoodle, and he's a very big boy. Diesel comes to me every 6 to 7 weeks, so we never really have a problem. He is obviously large and a lot of work, so if he didn't come to me often enough, his job and my job together would be much more intense, and he is a lot of work. So as you can see, he's not in bad shape at all. We're going to cool him down a little bit today. I am going to be using my number 2 wall stainless steel snap-on comb. Diesel just got here. He hasn't been bathed, brushed, dried, or anything yet. What I am going to do first is I'm going to run a brush through him all over, as I would with any dog before I bathe him. Then I am going to do a little pre-clipping with him with my number 2. And the reason I want to show you guys that today is because I feel like some of you may be trying to clip your dogs at home when the coat is just not prepared enough for a guard comb to go through it. These little guys can be quite finicky, these guard combs. If this coat isn't just right, they're not going to go through. They're going to snag in the coat. I'm going to show you how we actually can do some pre-trimming, which is going to shorten, obviously, his bathing time and his drying time. That's why I like to do a little pre-clipping on a dog as large as Diesel. I'm going to brush him out a little bit, and then I'm going to show you how I do this. We got our 10 blade, and we got our number 2 wall snap-on comb. I'm going to show you how I seat these both on my clipper. In this little slot right here in your blade, this is my 10 blade, that's what's going to seat right here on the hitch of the clipper, just like so. Set that on there like that. Now I turn my clipper on, and that makes the drive move, which is going to seat the blade. Turn it off. There's these little hooks right here on the back of your guard comb. They are going to seat gently right against the bottom of your blade. They have a little bit of a spring action. Push forward and push down, and it will seat on top of your blade. Let me show you one more time. Set the little teeth on there. Pull forward gently and down. They are mechanical and they're flimsy a little bit, so you don't want to be aggressive. Now our snap-on comb is seated nicely, and that's what I like about these wall combs. They have these side guards. They really seat nicely on your clipper. But if you're working with a matted coat, they can pop off. That's what I want you to know. We turn a clipper on, we're ready to go. Now we're ready to do a little pre-trimming on Diesel. Now remember, he's not bathed, he's only brushed. We want our clipper to glide and roll the skin in front of the clipper. This is how much this is going to take off. He is getting a fairly short cut today, but he really needs it, trust me. We're still leaving about half the length on him today. Let me bring you in a little closer and show you how I do this. Gliding and rolling the skin in front of Diesel's coat. If Diesel had mats, I would be getting stuck in his coat right now. And he doesn't have mats, so I'm able to pre-clip him. Now the pre-clipping is just to take some hair off before the bath and before the dry, so that he doesn't have to endure such a long bath and blow dry. That's all. Normally I would have just bathed and blown him out. I want you to notice right here, we're getting a little bit of resistance. I don't know if you can hear that. It's going through, but I'm feeling the resistance. I'm feeling the clipper kind of snagging in some coat. It's just because his coat is very thick and very dirty right now. So the snap-on combs, they don't like to go through a dirty coat. Right now I'm just showing you the technique. After I bathe and blow him out, I'm going to show you how we do finish cutting with snap-on combs on Diesel. has been brushed before his bath. He's been bathed, force dried, and brushed again. I am brushing through him one more time. I also brushed him thoroughly after I toweled him off while he was still wet. That easily allowed me to get through any snags or any heavy areas of his coat. And now he is dry and beautiful, and I am just going through him one more time. And it's very important that I'm able to get a comb through my dog. I can get a comb easily through Diesel's coat. If I couldn't get this comb through his coat, then I would not at all be prepared to use a snap-on comb on him, because that is a comb too. And if the comb won't glide through your dog's coat just like this, then the snap-on comb isn't going to either. So you're not going to have a successful groom. Grooming is grooming, guys. I realize I'm a professional groomer, but if you're going to be doing the grooming for your dog, you need to do a professional job. I mean, there's just nothing, I can't tell you that there's any other way to produce the results that the dog needs to fulfill his grooming needs, unless if you're going to do the grooming, you have to do a professional job. The tools and equipment that professional pet groomers use are all available to you too. So if you're not going to be regularly scheduling your dog with a groomer and you're going to be that groomer, then you have to have a grooming table, you have to have a good clipper, you have to have the right brushes, you have to, most importantly, be able to properly prep the coat, bathing, drying, and brushing. If you can't do that, you won't get professional results. I am just going through him one more time with the brush before we go and do our final trimming on him with our number 2 stainless steel snap-on comb. I do want to point out, this is the 3rd time I've brushed Diesel today, and I'm still getting dead hair out in the coat in the brush. The reason for that, this is what will cause the mats on your dog. So that's why I can't stress enough. The properly prepared coat, being able to get a comb through him like this, properly prepared coat is the coat that's ready to be trimmed. We don't just go and comb our dogs. We brush them first. That's what removes the dead hair. The comb just follows through and shows us how we did with our brushing. And it also is a tool that we use to lift the coat while we're clipping it. This is not a shedding, dematting tool as far as by itself. It has to have its friend, the brush. Diesel is finally ready to be trimmed. With this number 2 wall snap-on comb, I'm going to start at the base of his skull. I'm going to trim his whole body, just to the base of the tail to keep this clean. I'm going to trim his legs with this snap-on comb as well. I do have it sitting on top of a number 10 blade. That's the one I always recommend you use, because then you're always ready to do a sanitary trim, because you already have your number 10 blade on. After I do his body, I am going to set the length on his head and his muzzle with a different snap-on comb. So stay tuned for that. I want you to notice how easily this guard comb glides through Diesel's coat. You see that, guys? Just like butter. And the reason for that is because his coat has been properly prepared for clipping with guard combs. If I did not do all the pre-work that I did on Diesel's coat prior to going and attempting to give him a haircut with snap-on combs, I would not be able to go through this coat. It wouldn't be even. It would be choppy and messy and look really bad. This is the key, guys. We're going with the lay of the coat, the way the coat grows. And I'm putting enough pressure to move the hair in front of the snap-on comb. And it's beautiful. And this is a professional result. And if you're giving your dog a haircut at home, you want professional results too. So you have to come to terms with that, guys. Otherwise, there's no shortcuts to professional work. You know that. That's why I share these secrets with you on my channel. But look how easy and beautifully these guard combs make simple work out of shortening the length of your dog's coat. Your only other option if you wanted to leave more length, is to hand scissor. And that is not something that most novice groomers or pet owners at home doing the grooming are experienced enough to do. It's a lot of work too. It can be fun, but it takes time to get good at it. Now I've put an 8 comb on over my 10 blade. And I'm going to start from the base of the skull towards his nose, and I'm going to set the length on the top of his head. So this is where having the different sizes of snap-on combs truly comes in handy, because you can really polish your look here. And instead of clipping him all over with the same size, you're giving him you're cutting down your work here with setting the length on your snap-on comb. This is all stuff you would not have to hand scissor then. Professional shortcuts, guys. Get those ears back out of the way so we can come on up here. Get those sides of the cheeks. Good job. Right up his muzzle. And setting the length so we don't have to set that with scissors. We will have to do some final trimming with thinning shears and scissors just to tidy everything up, but the bulk of the work is being done right now with the snap-on combs. Good job. Now I want to show you something that is a question I get often asked. Why does my blade get packed up with hair, especially my snap-on combs? Your blade's not clipped nicely through your coat because they're packed with hair. I want to show you something. So periodically throughout trimming your dog, when you're using a guard comb, you're going to need to remove the guard comb. And you can see all the hair that's packed in here. That hinders your blade from making a smooth cut and giving you a smooth finish. So periodically you take a toothbrush or a little blade brush and you will depack your blade. And it's very important to do this, or you're going to start to notice that your clipping work starts to look shabby on your dog. This is also a good time to oil it. This is Andis Clipper oil. I put a bead here in the corner and a bead here in that corner. Let it run. Take a paper towel and just wipe all the excess off. It comes off. It's very thin oil. Reseat your snap-on comb and you're ready. And in a minute I'm going to show you how we trim with a 10 blade. So we're going to talk about blades versus snap-on combs. I'm going to show you the difference between blades and snap-on combs. We're just setting length with our snap-on comb. Our blade is meant to push and power through coat. Now you guys know I am using my clipper vac system, and that also helps to keep my blade from becoming packed in my clipper. But I want you to just watch how easily these guard combs are going through Diesel's coat because it's properly prepared. Without properly preparing Diesel's coat, you will not be able to use your guard combs on your dogs when you trim them. And what the guard combs do is saves you a lot of time with hand scissoring, which you may not even be capable of doing, hand scissoring your dog. That's something that takes time and experience to really learn and become good at it. So that's where these snap-on combs save you time, give you a professional look, as well as and a nice even length of coat. Now, I'm choosing to use the number 2. This is fairly short. Is there a blade this short? No, not really. A 4 is close, but even a 4 blade is shorter than this. So that's where, if you want to leave length, you have to use snap-on combs. And you can't use snap-on combs unless you've properly prepared the coat with brushing, bathing, and drying, and more brushing. I've removed the snap-on comb, guys, and I want to show you how a 10 blade goes through a coat versus the snap-on comb. I'm going to do a sanitary trim here on Diesel. And remember, with a snap-on comb, when you have that on top of your 10 blade, now you have 2 elements that have to go through the coat. Not just the 10 blade that's underneath doing all the cutting, but the guard comb that is setting the length. It's guarding the length, meaning it makes it the same. It holds your same length for your trim. Blades cut through coats much easier than snap-on combs. And I am using the hair vac system again, guys. I always use a 10 blade for sanitary, nothing higher, nothing lower. 7 would be too dangerous because it actually has teeth and it could snag skin. Our sanitary areas are very tender areas when we're trimming. So I just want to make it known that 10 blade is what you want to use, and it's the safest to use for your dog too, okay? And it can be absolutely used under your snap-on comb attachments. So I think that's very important. I can't say it enough. I get a lot of questions about that. Now for Diesel's paw pads, I am going to use a 4-in-1 clipper. This is the Kenchi Flash, but this is a blade. It's not a detachable blade. It does come off, but it's not a detachable blade clipper like my Wall KM10 or your Andis or your Oster. This is really designed for the fine work around the pads, in the private areas, around the eyes. It's safer, it's quieter, it doesn't vibrate like a bigger clipper, but it's also not as powerful as our regular clippers. So I like to use this in the pads of the feet because dogs don't seem to mind it really. You know, you don't need to put much of any pressure at all on this clipper. It just gets right through these little areas. But I'm using a 30 blade. It's set to a 30. It can be set to a 10, 15, or 30. We always go in a V shape when we shave the pads because there's a tendon right here. So we come at that in a V shape and scoop out that hair in the pads. This will ensure that your dog has good footing when they're walking around. Everything from the underneath that he would be standing on is just so wonderful to use these clippers. But this is a blade versus a snap-on comb leaves more of a textured look, whereas a blade is just gonna get a nice smooth cut. Same thing on Diesel's back paw here. This is the difference between the blades and the snap-on combs. The snap-on combs are only there to protect the length of the coat. Obviously here in the pads of the feet, we don't want length of coat. And I am using a 30. This is the only place I will use a 30 blade on a dog, is in the pads of feet. Other than that, I use a 10 under my snap-on combs. I use a 10 in the private sanitary areas because it's safe. A 30 blade in the sanitary area, you know, the privates, is way too short and will cause clipper irritation. And I am going to be doing a demo on the Kenchi Flash because a lot of people are interested in knowing how to use it. If they can trim their entire dog, say a Yorkie, Maltese, even a Shih Tzu, with this clipper. So I am going to be doing a demo, seeing if I, as a professional, would use this solely for a full groom. Looking good there, big boy. Yeah. Oh. See, it's nice and even. Everything looks good. And we set all this length with a snap-on comb. But I don't know if you can see the texture. It leaves texture. It's not a blade. It's not going to clip the same as a blade. But it sure does look nice, and it sure does save you a lot of work. And it sets the length, so all you got to do is touch up with your scissor work.
Diesel, you are amazing. Yes, you're a good boy. Say thank you. Thank you, Diesel. Thank you for helping us with our tutorial. Good job.
Oh, he is such a sweet baby. But this is what we get. This was a number 2 stainless snap-on comb all over, and an A to set the length on the top of his head. Other than that, we just tidied up with the scissor work. And this was a 3-hour groom.
If you're new to my channel, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, because together we are going to increase the bond you share with your pet and add even more value to their lives.